Hello, my friends. Bella Maldonado here, and as usual, we are going to be using tarot cards to help inspire us to create some art this week. And the deck that I'm going to be using today is called the Steampunk Tarot, and that is by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell. And my husband actually made me a really cool leather pouch for these cards. It's right here. And he told me he tried to find the steampunkiest button in his stash to make this, and it came out really well. I mean, he even has a really fancy lining in here that matches the button, and it goes really great with the cards. Just to show you an example of what some of these cards look like. There's lots of browns in here, and I think it looks really nice with this pouch. So I am a lucky gal to have a hubby who gives me little tarot gifts and makes me little tarot gifts as well. So let's get on with our reading so we can see what kind of art we're going to be making this week. And I like this deck because it's very easy to shuffle. And I got this deck because I was looking for something that was similar to Rider-Waite-Smith, but I needed some new imagery. So I thought, well, this doesn't stray too far, and it's different enough so that, it can be more interesting. I can see different pictures, but kind of understand what the pictures mean at the same time. So this was a nice little change from the Rider-Waite, but still, it's considered a clone. So it's very easy to read if you are used to Rider-Waite-Smith deck. All right, so let's get into this reading. So we've got our card number 1, which is going to be our theme. Card number 2, which is going to show us what our main color, or perhaps color palette, is going to be in this art piece. Card number 3 is going to show us what medium we should be using. And card number 4 is going to show us what the focal point of our art piece is going to be. So let's see what we've got. Okay, our theme. So right now we are looking at the Two of Wands. And we have somebody standing on a balcony, looking out, perhaps making some plans, trying to figure out what's going to come next, what they want to do next. So there's not a whole lot of action going on here. There's a lot of planning, and particularly planning on something that is very, very near and dear to their heart, something that they're passionate about. There's a lot of planning about something that they really, really want to do. And it's not something that they're being forced to do. It's not something that somebody else is telling them to do. It's something that they are extremely passionate about doing because of the wands. Wands is usually about, that passion, that desire. Card number 2. What color are we going to be using here? So, since most of these cards have kind of that brown hue to them, I'm going to try to pick a color that isn't brown, that's on this card. So right away I'm kind of seeing, what is that, like a light aqua green in her dress. That's kind of the color that I'm seeing here. Let's bring it up a little closer. It's got like an aqua blue, aqua green, but on the light side. So maybe we can consider that color. All right, card number 3 is going to tell us what medium should we use. So I'm looking at the Chariot in reverse. So the Chariot is usually something that has direction, This person in the chariot knows where they're going. They know exactly where they want to go and how to get there. But it's reversed. So let's see, maybe something, the chariot is also about movement, moving forward. And maybe in reverse, it's not moving as quickly. Something that's a little slow. Something that is not easy to handle. So I'm trying to think, what kind of medium could I use that might be a little tricky to give direction? Oh, you know what? Maybe something like, I'm thinking either some kind of an ink or maybe a watercolor. Maybe a watercolor that I kind of start painting at the top and let it dribble down, but I won't really know which direction it's going to go. It'll kind of just fall whichever way it chooses to. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from the chariot, right? Because normally the chariot knows where it's going, it has perfect direction, it's in control. But I feel like with something like watercolor or some kind of an like a very thin or diluted ink that I kind of just let fall wherever it needs to. So that might be something. Now, I don't think I have an ink, but I think I have some watercolors I can dig up that might allow for that same effect. So let's think about that. Okay, and card number 4 is our focal point. And I have the King of Cups reversed. And what do I see here? I see a man. I see a man holding a cup. Is that what we want as our focal point? I mean, honestly, the first thing that I saw when I flipped this over was the beard. So I'm not sure if I want to make a beard the focal point, but I'm gonna have to, because that's the first thing that I saw, which is weird. So let's see, how can we make these two things fit together? I've got a beard and I've got somebody who's planning about something that they're passionate about. Could a beard maybe be, I don't know, maybe it means something else. Maybe in this case, a beard can mean a disguise. So maybe they're planning on disguising themselves. They're planning to disguise themselves. Why? Is there going to be some kind of a robbery or a theft? And this is something that I've mentioned in a previous video, is that what I love about this project is that I can, be as ridiculous as I want with these meanings because we're doing this for art. So, if I don't stick to the classical meanings of these cards, even better. I'm just going to go with the first craziest thing that comes to mind. So, I don't know, maybe they are planning some kind of a heist, planning a robbery, planning something that requires them to be in disguise in search of something that they're passionate about or want to achieve something that they're passionate about. Maybe there's some precious stone or something that's precious to them that maybe it's something that they've been after their entire lives. Again, back to the passion, the desire, something that they've been desiring their whole lives, and in order to obtain it, they have to be in disguise, and they're in that planning phase. Okay, let's go with that. We're going to use either an aqua green or an aqua blue as our main color, or perhaps our pop of color. And we'll use some kind of a medium that isn't very easy to control, like a watercolor or diluted ink that I would allow it to kind of dribble and fall wherever it needs to. All right, I think that's our reading. So right now I have my watercolor paper that I've pre-primed with gesso to get it ready to accept some paints. And I had a stash of Faber-Castell Gelatos. And originally what I wanted to use was watercolor to have that drip effect, but I didn't have any watercolor that was that aqua green, aqua blue color that the tarot cards were telling us to use. And I remember seeing a YouTube video where somebody used gelatos to create that drip effect by spraying it with some water. So I figured, okay, let me give it a shot. So here I am mixing the two colors together, and soon I'll be bringing out my little spritzer, and you'll notice that as soon as I spray it, it's already starting to move. So that was exactly the effect I was looking for. So I'm just gonna smoosh the colors together and give it that nice aqua green. And when I lift up the paper, it's just randomly dripping wherever it needs to go, just like the reverse chariot told us it would. So this was a fun effect, and I liked playing with it. So after the reading, my idea for what to draw was that I was going to come up with a character whose lifelong obsession had to do with a diamond that's being kept in a museum. A very rare diamond that was discovered in, I don't know, the 17th century. And his lifelong dream was to take possession of this diamond. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep with that steampunk theme of the tarot deck and transfer that over to my drawing. So the character that I'm going to create here is, he's definitely going to have some steampunk characteristics in terms of his accessories and what he's wearing. He's definitely going to have a mask on, which is what came up in the tarot reading. And of course, the mask is going to have a steampunk look to it. I'm giving him a hat that's going to look a very steampunk. Eventually, you'll see I'll put those typical goggles that you see. And I definitely had to use a reference because, number one, I'm not very good at drawing people. So I definitely need a reference to see not just, I mean, the features I can, you know, throw a pair of eyes and a nose and a mouth somewhere. But when it comes to lighting and shading, that's when I need a reference. You know, when the light hits the skin in a certain way, I just start, like I mentioned in a previous video, I just start shading everywhere instead of where it makes sense. So when I have a reference, it's really great to see where those shadows fall, where the highlights fall. And, even with reference, it doesn't always come out perfect. But again, this is a project that I'm starting to help me get into the habit of creating art, and hopefully not just creating it, but also getting better at it. So here I am sketching out the mask, and the idea is that the mask is sort of have a leathery look to it, and then maybe some leather laces going down the middle. And wow, I really made a mess with that eraser. I imagine I'm going to be cleaning that up later. So now I'm working on the eyes. And again, this was a reference that I found on Google. Once I had the image in my head of what I wanted somebody who had the typical steampunk costume. So I Googled that and tried to find a picture of somebody who was similar to what I was imagining in my head. And I found something and I just made some slight changes. The hat isn't exactly the same. The mask is definitely different, but at least I was able to use the reference to see, in how I should shape the hat, and how the mask falls on the face and where the shadows should be. So I'm using this glue bottle because I can't make perfect circles. So I'm using that to sketch out the goggles that I'm going to be placing on top of the hat. And even with the bottle, I still can't get the circles right. They're kind of skewed off to the right a little bit, but that's okay. Again, my style is very cartoony. It's not meant to be realistic. So, by the end of it, hopefully it'll be, a cute little cartoonish drawing. And boy, I gotta clean that eraser. Every time I erase, I leave these horrible smudges everywhere. But anyway, so we will continue along with this sketch. The sketch is now basically done, and now I'm going to work on some color. So I'm going to use the Gelatos just to lay down some color in there, and then I'm going to use my watercolor brush to smooth all the color out. And I was so excited to find out that you can do this with Gelatos. I had no idea. So this was fun experimenting with something new. And of course, I'm still using my reference to match the skin color and then later to match the eye color, because if I don't follow what the reference tells me to do, then it will be a complete mess. So I'm trying to stick to that reference as close as possible. Again, I made some changes with the hat design and the mask design, but when it comes to faces and shadows, it's best for everyone if I stick to the reference. Right now I'm adding color to the mask, and I will be using the same technique that I used for the face, which is just using the watercolor brush just to spread the color all around. And one other thing that I like about using the Gelatos is that it automatically creates, I don't know, texture, or it automatically adds shading in there, so I don't have to worry about it. You can see that it almost has that leathery look to it, and I don't really have to try very hard. I'm just spreading the color around, and it's automatically creating some shadows and highlights for me, which is great because that's exactly what I need. So the mask is mostly done now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a black gelato and I'm going to use that to color in the edge of the mask, which comes close to the nose. And I'm using my mat. It's a Tim Holtz mat, and it's another little toy that I acquired recently now that I'm getting back into art. And it's great because you can actually put ink, or I can, like I did, you saw, I took the gelato and colored right on the glass. And you can pick up the color with the brush directly from the glass, which is awesome. And no, this is not sponsored. But it's a great little tool to have. So I'm using my glass mat as a palette right now. Now I am going to color in the hat, I believe. Yes, and I'm going to use the gray color, and I noticed that the gray wasn't coming out as much as the black, and I figured, well, the hat is big enough, I can just apply the gelato directly onto the paper and just do the same thing that I did with the face and the mask. The hat is painted in, his steampunk leather jacket is painted in, and now I'm working on the embellishments on the jacket. And what I decided to do was I wanted to make all the little metallic embellishments. I wanted to use my Uniball Signo gold gel pen because it has a little shimmer to it, and because all of these things are supposed to look like they're bronze or gold, I thought it would be a fun idea to use that gel pen for this. So everything that was supposed to be metallic in the drawing has been filled in with the gel pen. And now I'm just shading in the jacket just to give the jacket a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to start using my black colored pencil to outline everything because the drawing was starting to look a little flat. So I figured outlining it in pencil will kind of help my character pop out of the page a little bit. And I'm sure other things would have helped, like understanding shading techniques. But at this point, outlining everything is the best thing I can do right now. So I'm just going to continue to outline the hat and the eyes, the goggles, and hopefully that will make things pop a little better. Now I'm coloring in the diamond with my gelato and using my watercolor brush to spread that color around. And I felt like there was still too much white space behind my character, so I just took a green colored pencil and just added a little more green to the background. And I'm putting some finishing touches now on the mask and adding some shading in places and outlining some things a little more to make them pop. And I'm also outlining the diamond just to make it a little more dimensional. And I'll be adding some little white shines to my diamond using my Posca paint marker. And that's just to give it some reflection, make it look cute. And we're almost done here. I'm just adding some more shading. Again, just trying to give it as much dimension as I can, given my artistic limitations, but it's not coming out bad considering. So yeah, just adding some last minute touches here. And this is the final drawing based on this week's tarot reading. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope you enjoyed watching the process. And you know what? Join in on the fun with me. If you're in a creative slump, just watch one of my readings, get inspired, and post your artwork on Instagram. And make sure you tag it using Bella M Tarot Art. I would love to see your artwork. Until next time.